And to shed more light on Egyptian investments in Africa, we are joined over the phone by Mr. Ahmed Khattab. He is an economic expert. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to all of you.
Mr. Ahmed, how do you see the need for expanded intra-African trade before challenges gripping the world?
Yeah, first of all, let me send a positive key message to all the Egyptian citizens and all African citizens.
Yes.
Egypt, under the leadership of our President Fattah el-Sisi, growing in the volume of trade between Egypt and Africa in all departments, in all fields. If we go back to last week meeting, for example, the Minister of Trade and Industry, Engineer Ahmed Samir, in speech in every embassy of Cote d'Ivoire, embassy in National Day, send a key positive message about the increase in the volume and the trade between Egypt and Cote d'Ivoire. Investment in Africa is up by 1.2 billion in 2021, and it's a great amount, and reached to 10.2 billion. And the trade volume with delivery cost, for example, increased by 149 million, in an increase by 178.5% compared to 2020. Also, Minister of Trade, Engineer Ahmed Samir, said and remarked during the celebration in the embassy, the very solid and good relation between the President of el-Sisi and the President of Cote d'Ivoire also, and sent a positive message about the private sector and the governmental sector in the increase of the volume of economic and increase the cooperation in many fields and many industry also. A lot of cooperation between Egypt and Africa take place once we implementing the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, and this agreement signed in Rwanda in 2018 and start operation from January 2021. And this is aimed to increase the volume and size of trade between Egypt and all Africa countries in the future. I think Egypt have a wonderful chance to cooperate with Africa, especially we have a good reserve in gas and national gas and all petroleum sector also, and this is will encourage also the industry of petrochemical industry and plastic industry, and also the cooperation with Africa in the food industry, especially Crown and all special need committee related to the African country. Egypt, once we applying the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, a lot of many increase in the volume of trade with Africa in all fields. We hope to increase the volume on the size of trade until to reach 3 billion GDP to be $3 trillion, and this amount will be duplicated before the 2050, according to African Union special report. So I think we have a good chance to cooperate in Africa, especially Egypt as a key country in the Africa, and especially Egypt as a key country have infrastructure, have a new Suez Canal corridor, have a new Suez Canal logistics area, have a lot of multinational companies working together in order to increase the volume and investment in Africa. If we go back for 2 weeks, our business Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Bouli in G8, also with cooperation of Tokyo, promised to invest more than $30 billion in Africa in a growing company, and with the SMEs project also, and Japan working with Egypt, especially in this field. So African Union also all meeting concentrate on to increase the inter-Africa trade. Once we take this direction, we will make a lot of GDP profit to all African countries. And Egypt as a key country in the Africa and the North Africa especially will have a very good chance to increase the growing rate. Once we start, we have already 6.6% growing rate during 2022, and this is a good growing rate related to the Russian-Ukrainian war, especially, and after the COVID-19 pandemic also. But if we look into the forward, we have a good chance to increase the volume and size of trade. Especially, we have a very solid relation with key countries in Africa, like Nigeria, like South Africa, and a lot of key countries in Nigeria work together in Egypt. And last week, the African Union held a conference here in Egypt and insists to increase the volume and size of trade between the African countries, especially with Egypt, because we have a new Suez Canal corridor, and we have a lot of chance to make export of all African commodities to the world, especially with Europe, because Europe have a shortage in liquid gas, a shortage in petroleum sector, a shortage in petrochemical sector, and a shortage in food sector. And Egypt, with cooperation with African Union and African country, will able to make export of all this commodity and product to Europe countries, Germany, like France, UK. All this country in need to make import of goods and liquidity from Egypt and from African country. And Egypt, as a key country, have already finished the infrastructure and ready infrastructure to make export, and banking sector also working with many high technology and financial inclusion. All this lead Egypt to be key country in the Africa and South Africa especially. Okay?
Because most attractive investment fields to Egypt.
Yes.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm asking you about Africa's most attractive investment fields to Egypt.
Yeah, Africa most attractive investment in Egypt is the field of petrochemical and the liquid gas and oil. In terms of the gold, also it would be good. Africa have a very good stock of gold. Food industry also will be at value, because in Africa we have water, we have land, and we have IOS or employee with a very cheap price. Field of cacao, field of sugar industry, field of also ceramic industry, field of steel industry, because we have a serve in natural gas and in oil. A lot of industry also in the field of computer sector. We have also a lot of key countries in Africa, like South Africa, most advanced in this field, and Egypt also. Export of electricity, it will be accepted to all countries, especially in Europe. Europe, they are looking forward to make import of electricity during the coming winter, because they face a pandemic of Ukrainian and Russia war and shortage of liquid gas. Egypt, after we have zone recovery, we have a surplus of liquid gas, and we make export by $500 million every month to all the countries, this is Europe.
Yes.
A lot of many in cooperation with Africa, and a lot of in the field of the plastic, in the field of the wood also industry. So all these industry need energy like electricity and like petroleum and gas. Africa will be the leader in the coming 10 years at least. Yes. Because we have a surplus in this source.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Ahmed Khattab, economic expert. Thank you for being with us, and back to our reports from Africa. And after almost a year away from the negotiating table, ex-rebels and the government have resumed talks. Details in the coming report.
Groups, pro-government armed groups, and the government met with the monitoring committee of the Algiers Agreement.